Today is the 1st of November. This means two things. First, know that November starts today. Second, I have a comp in 10 days, and I have one thing to do. To get good at this guy, the Pyraminx. The goal is to average sub 4.5, and also get into the finals at the comp. Now, before we start, let's do a few solves first, and see how fast I currently am. Alright, just did an AO12, 5.47. Not terrible, I would say. Starting off with day 1 and day 3, I basically just speedran solves. I barely did any inspection, I quite literally just turned my brain off and just solved the puzzle over and over again. I did around 200 solves a day, but it really didn't help me get any faster. Sure, it made my L4E recognition a little tiny bit faster, but not by much. I still find myself having to pause for a long time trying to figure out what case I got, especially with the case that doesn't have any blocks. Additionally, I think just solely doing solves actually made me slower, going from averaging mid 5 seconds to low 6 seconds. So I had to make a change. Rather than just brainlessly doing solves, I need to find out what I'm bad at and target those weak points to improve. So for day 4 and 5, I focused on two things. The first being my V block building, and the second being my L4E recognition. For V block building, all I really did was just do solves, but I focused on my inspection, trying to come up with better solutions that isn't just brainlessly inserting the edges one by one. Another thing I started doing more often was inserting an edge flipped in order to get a better L4E recognition. Now, speaking of L4E, what I first did to improve was watch this video by Michael Nielsen on L4E recognition. Then I headed over to CS Timer, switched my session to Pyraminx L4E, then started unloading a shit ton of solves. I did close to 600 solves in a day. And also, you might notice that I didn't scramble the tips even though the scramble clearly had tips. And that's because normally I would do tips first on my solves. So I figured that wouldn't really affect my L4E. Also, on day 5, I decided to switch my cube from the Waylong that I was using originally back to the Little Magic. I find my Waylong to just be a little bit too uncontrollable and a little too flexy. For day 6, I binge watched a whole lot of Pyraminx tips and tricks videos for almost 3 hours straight. Some of them being Cube Master, Tiger and Cats Cubing, and John Gainar. I don't know how to pronounce that last name. Just to name a few. Actually, from those videos, I learned quite a few things. From influencing with different insertions, edge cycles for V, and finding better V solutions. And I even started following V example solves on a video I watched. On top of that, since there's only 5 days left, I decided at the end of the day, I would do an average of 12 to track my times and see how my improvement is going. Alright. 6:49. I think my solution has gotten better. It's just that my execution is actually like really freaking dog shit. Day 7. Day 7, I was sick as fuck. I actually left school halfway, but me being a Chad, I refused to miss out on the practice. At the same time, I didn't really want to use my brain since my head hurt like shit, so I did tips practice, where I only solved the tips on the Pyraminx, especially scrambles with 4 tips, and I did around 300 solves. With that, I actually did notice quite a significant time drop with my tip solving, going from originally like a high 1 to mid 1 and sometimes even sub 1 averages. Then to end off the day, I did a quick AO12.
Bruh.
Oh fuck. Oh, L4E recognition sucks. Alright. Definitely an improvement. 4.56 AO12. I messed up quite a bit. I think that is something I could improve on. My turning is still not very good. But yeah, improvement. For day 8, I was still pretty tired and I was still recovering from the illness from the previous day. So all I really did was watch some example solves. Then once I got bored of them, I started doing some solves. I tried to focus on inspection and turning during those solves. But the only thing I ended up really doing was finding out that TPS spamming actually works pretty well. So I started trying to implement more TPS into my solves. This day 3 of the daily AO12 thing. Right. Let's do a quick AO12. I'm gonna turn on inspection. Are you kidding me? Oh my god, bro. How many +2s am I gonna get? Are you fucking kidding? Are you actually kidding me? What the fuck? Somehow I ended up with a worse time than both the past 2 days. I think the main problem is that I didn't have inspection on for the last 2 days, and now that I have it on, there's just a lot more pressure. Along with that, the fucking I get so many +2s. I have 4 +2s in an average of 12. What the fuck? Wait, is it 4? Yeah, it's 4. What the hell? How? Now, for the last 2 days, being day 9 and day 10, I really didn't do much at all. I just kept continuing trying to do solves over and over again, and then the AO12s, of course. But during these last 2 days, I also realized that by looking at my previous AO12 times, I actually didn't improve that much at all. At times, I even unimproved, going backwards, being slower than what I previously averaged. But, you know, what's done is done. The real important part comes during the comp. I was extremely nervous for the first round of Pyraminx. I don't think you can tell how much I was shaking in the videos, but trust me, I was really nervous. I was honestly about to piss my pants. The first solve was a 2-tip scramble. I fumbled a bit on the second tip, but with a pretty fast L4E, I got a 3.86 on my first solve. Second solve, however, the tip was pretty clean, but the V and turning was, concerning to say the least. But the solve was saved with an easy free move insert, getting another 3.8. Solve 3 wasn't the best scramble, but everything went smoothly and it ended up getting my fastest single in this comp, being a 3.69. Solve 4 was actually the solve I was most nervous about. I knew that with the 3 previous solves all being sub 4, I might actually crush my goal of getting a sub 4.5 average. With some hesitation, I ended up getting a 4.07. Not the greatest, but securing my sub 4 average and now crushing my original goal of a sub 4.5 average. Now, for the last solve of the average, I got some butterfingers and almost threw the cube away during inspection. But the solve itself was even worse. My V was bad, but my L4E, oh my god, I want to slap myself across the face when I see that. It was the easiest case to recognize, being the only case that is technically AL2E. I messed up hard on it, but nevertheless, I have already destroyed my first goal with a sub 4 average, with a final average of 3.91. But now we move on to the second goal to worry about, getting in the finals. For that, we need to check out round 2 of Pyraminx. Solve 1 is just painful. The solution and turning was both trash, but what's funny is that the L4E case I actually got was the case I was just practicing during my warm-up, and I somehow did this, which ended up being a 7-second solve. The second solve didn't go that much better. For some reason, I decided to unsolve a tip that was already done, which then gave me a 5.28. The third solve was locky, but not too much to say here, just a simple 4.56. The second to last solve scramble was pretty decent, but my execution, however, was not. I ended up getting a 3.81, which should have been a lot faster. The final solve of the average was just plain not too much to be said here. The final average ended up being 4.81, getting me 8th place in the second round, allowing me to advance to the finals. And for the finals, let's just not talk about it. Now, what have we learned from this whole challenge? Practice doesn't pay off, but practicing smartly does. Thank you for listening to my TED Talk.